Guys, so Fortnite's next Simpsons season just got leaked, and we actually have our first info about what we're going to be seeing in this crazy ambitious season. So some absolutely insane news just dropped, you guys. Fortnite's next season map has been officially leaked to an extent. Like, we don't actually know exactly what it's going to look like, but we have a good idea. And yeah, it is not the Chapter 3 map, unfortunately. I was actually looking forward to that, hoping that it would actually be the Chapter 3 map. But Fortnite's next map is actually going to be Springfield from The Simpsons, and that kind of changes everything. You know, we've had some crazy collabs in the past. We've even had a whole collab mini season around Star Wars, and we didn't get a full map for that. But now we're getting a full map based on Springfield from The Simpsons show. That is a whole new level and a first for Fortnite to actually do something like that. What's even crazier, you guys, is that I think I may have actually figured out how this is going to tie into Fortnite's current lore. I don't think that this is just going to be something random. Hopefully it's not, because if it is, that will be very bad. But it could literally end up being a punishment from the Dark Presence after what we end up doing in the event that's coming in just about 10 days. We're going to go through what this map leak tells us, how it's going to fit into Fortnite's story, and what this could mean for Chapter 7. Because if Epic pulls this off, you guys, it might be one of the wildest and most fun seasons that we have ever had, despite what everybody may think. So what we know so far is that the next Fortnite season will take place in Springfield, the full town from The Simpsons, nothing else. Nothing else. It's going to be complete with the nuclear power plant, probably some other stuff from the places of Springfield, but we only know of the nuclear power plant, which is where, of course, Homer works. Now, we already knew that we'd be moving on from the Chapter 6 island, and if you'd like to watch me talk about that a little bit more, click on the top right of your screen here, but no one really knew where we were going. You know, some people expected something maybe a little bit darker or corrupted. A lot of people thought that maybe we'd go into like a combination between, you know, the Spirit Realm and Springfield or something like that. I kind of had a feeling that it'd be Springfield once all the cartoon hints started showing up and things like that. And once we knew that we would be leaving this map, it just makes sense for us to go to Springfield. Now, there was also a rumor very early on when we found out that we were going to be getting a Simpsons mini season that the next map might actually be reload size, which would make things really, really interesting. Now, when this leak first came out, I really didn't believe it, but if that is still true, a 100-player Springfield could be absolutely chaotic, and I kind of actually love that idea. Based on this little map you can see right here from the show or some fan art or something like that, I found this posted on Twitter. It looks relatively small. It doesn't look super big or anything like that. Fortnite could definitely compress this down into a reload size map. I'm not sure if they're going to do that. If this ends up just being a reload collab, that would kind of suck after all of this hype and everything, but we will just have to wait and see. One thing I'd like to bring up, though, you guys, is that I think The Simpsons actually fits really well inside of Fortnite. You know, it's colorful, it's chaotic. I feel like it's just ridiculous overall as well, and I feel like that fits perfectly inside of Fortnite. And we'll talk a little bit later about if they do a very specific thing with this. I think the season is going to be very, very good. Now, like I said in the beginning, you guys, a lot of people got their hopes up, including me, and thought that we'd go back to the Chapter 3 map for the Simpsons mini season. And at first, that made complete sense. I mean, we went back to Chapter 1, then Chapter 2 remix, so Chapter 3 felt like the next logical step. And if they were going to remix Chapter 3 just like they did with Chapter 2, I feel like Fortnite would think that's going to be popular because we did the same thing with Chapter 2 and it was popular as well. But honestly, you guys, that theory just didn't have very much traction. You know, I don't think people are really as nostalgic for Chapter 3 yet as they were for the earlier ones like Chapter 1 and 2, of course, and Epic probably knew that. I don't think it's the time for the Chapter 3 map to come back yet, but I do think there will be a time and place for it at one point. Also, Chapter 3 didn't last super long either. It was only 4 seasons, so it doesn't really have that same like legendary status that Chapter 1 or 2 has yet. But like I said, I could definitely see it coming back another time. I feel like a lot of people really see like Chapter 3 as sacred, especially the first season, because of the 7 being involved and everything. So if they were to, you know, take down the foundation statue and put like Homer Simpson, I think a lot of people would be kind of upset with that. But it really makes sense that they're switching things up completely instead of kind of reusing another old map. A full Simpsons crossover is just something that I don't think a lot of people saw coming before it was revealed. And the more that I think about it, this could fit perfectly with where Fortnite's story is right now, even though if they do it wrong, it could be very, very bad. There's very high stakes in this next season, you guys, which we will talk about in a second. So this is where things get really interesting based on how Chapter 6 is going to end. And I think what this next event is going to be, because guys, we still have a giant event to look forward to that's going to be our first full-scale story event since Collision back in Chapter 3. I think it's going to be us entering the Spirit Realm, and I think this new Springfield map is actually going to be punishment from the Dark Presence, because there is going to be another event after the Simpsons season right before it ends and before we go into Chapter 7. A lot of people are thinking the event before we go into the mini season will be Part 1, and the one after will be part 2. So in this part 1, I think we're actually going to fail to get the 0-point shard back. So think about it. If we defy the spirit realm, we went into his domain or their domain, and now we're trapped in this kind of surreal cartoon look reality as punishment, it would make perfect sense if this was him like toying with us, you know, putting us in a bright, weird world that's basically kind of like a simulation of some sort. I think that would be really cool. It could even be that maybe the map looks like innocent and funny on the outside, but something darker is underneath. Like maybe the presence is still watching or controlling everything or something like that. Fortnite's done kind of like dreamlike alternate worlds before. That's kind of what Remix was, but never something this like kind of stylistic or recognizable, like cartoony in this way. And that's what's making this really, really fascinating to me. If it's not just a collab, I think there's a lot of potential to make this very story driven and really, really interesting. And I think honestly for me, that's what this is going to ride on. If they can really tie in the storyline with this and make it something that's really engaging and makes sense, I think that this could be really good. Now, we've talked a lot about how this season is a really, really big risk and how Fortnite cannot mess this up. If you'd like to hear me talk about that a little bit more, click on the top right of your screen here. But this season is a massive gamble. It's by far one of the most ambitious seasons Fortnite has ever made. I don't think there's ever been a season that's been leaked that people have been like, I'm not really sure how I'm going to like this. A lot of people are already saying that this is going to be a month where they quit the game or where the game is literally going to die. Because for it to work, Epic is going to have to go all in. You know, half committing to this theme is not going to cut it here, and that's something that Fortnite does quite a lot. But this is a theory that I've had for this season for a really long time, and that is that if they make the graphics like fully cartoony, like if it feels like we're literally in the Simpsons show, like a complete rehaul of the graphics for a month, that could be insane in the best way possible. Imagine all the weapons, the vehicles, and characters are rendered in that art style. The game would look completely different. It would completely change the feel of the game for a few months, and that's what a mini season should do. But if they don't go all the way, you guys, in my opinion, if it's just the normal Fortnite graphics with, you know, some Simpsons locations thrown in or something like that, or just a brand new map, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna feel underwhelming for me, especially after all of this hype. It's risky, but honestly, you guys, I think they know they need to go big with this. They're gonna want a lot of attention on Chapter 7, and the Galactic Battle season showed how far Fortnite can push a themed mini season, and this needs to top that. Fortnite really didn't go all out with the Galactic Battle season, and they need to learn from their mistakes with that, because that honestly kind of caused the downfall of Chapter 6 in my opinion. Now, there has been a lot of talk about how this could ruin Fortnite, and I want to say, you guys, I think this has the potential to be one of the coolest Fortnite seasons ever if it's done right, especially if they rehaul the graphics. I've been saying it for a while. Fortnite is really at its best when it's weird, it's creative, it's bold, and when Fortnite takes really big risks. And this season fits that absolutely perfectly. It's unpredictable, and if they connect it to the story in a way that makes sense, I think it could be absolutely amazing. I'm very curious about how they're going to handle these two events in the gameplay. Will we see Springfield destroyed at the end? Will it merge with a new island in Chapter 7? There's just so much potential here along with the storyline, and even though it's wild, it's still consistent with Fortnite's current theme. The idea that different worlds and realities are being pulled into one, and we're venturing through all this stuff in the Omniverse. I think it's really cool, and it'll be awesome to go into Chapter 7 with if they do it right. So yeah, you guys, Fortnite's next season being a Simpsons Springfield map is definitely not what a lot of people expected, but I'm honestly really excited to see what Epic does with it. They always have something in their back pocket that blows us out of the water. Let me know in the comments, you guys, do you think this is actually going to work, or is Fortnite going too far with these collabs? Let me know. If you want to know more about how this season is going to connect to Fortnite's bigger story and what it could mean for Chapter 7, check out my other videos. I've been breaking all of that down over the last couple of days. If you guys did enjoy, please do drop a like. You watched all the way to the end. You must have enjoyed, so drop a like. Subscribe to the channel. I make videos like these every single day. Use code PROZEROYT, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.